It's the mastermind of ChibiFangirl, Kayla here, and before this episode starts, I'm gonna give you a heads up. This episode's kind of different when it comes to formatting. That's because of technical difficulties that I was having. I know I mentioned on my blog that the Mean Girls episode took a while because the footage was not coming in Final Cut, and the problem with this one, I wasn't able to get a second copy of Hannibal, unfortunately. There was 2 files, and both of them were broken. I tried to download a third, but it would not download, and I went on different Final Cut forums, and I don't want to call tech support because they're going to ask me how I got the file. You can't just say I torrented it because then you're going to get into some legal battles there. So what I did, instead of like just sitting around moping, not knowing what to do, and then just go to the next episode hoping that footage will work, so I just decided to use stills. It's not my way of portraying an episode, especially since it's very static and it's not very interesting, but I know some music reviewers do it. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. There are some parts where I had to web record a video I own because I could, like, certain clips rely on certain footage, so yeah, it looks a little wonky, but it's the best I could do. So yeah, on to the episode.
Previously on ChibiFangirl Reviews.
Then I wish I had the power to wipe out these goons myself. Sexy, frilly, upgrade, transformation sequence, go!
Spike, tell ChibiFangirl I love her. Wait a second, don't you guys have super speed? Couldn't you just fly after them?
We would if we knew where they went.
You, unofficial Powerpuff Girls. You team up with BB-8 and R2 to track down where they went.
Meanwhile, at the immigration office, oh hi Adrian! No, I'm not kidding, that's Adrian. Remember my ex-boyfriend who was the son of the devil? Well, apparently he's a Nazi as well. And maybe it's a good thing I stopped seeing him. Oh, come now. You must understand the difference between actors and characters. Cry uncontrollably. No. Perform a magic trick. This isn't just a wand. It's a knife. I still have more reviews to do.
And now for the thrilling conclusion.
Any word on the Daybreak Illusion crowd yet? What's he saying? I don't speak droid. He says that they will meet you at the end of the review. Well, that's a bit convenient. Why not attack me now? Not only that, what if I decide not to review anymore? Are they still gonna come after me?
Don't question magic, just do the review.
Are they watching me? Because that's really creepy.
Enough, we got complaints from the audience about last episode taking way too long to get to the review. We'll deal with those people later, just make me money.
God-given right.
Hi, I'm ChibiFangirl, I fangirl over, and you just listened. So last time we looked at Hannibal Rising and Red Dragon, both prequels to the famous movie Silence of the Lambs. I said that both were good, however Red Dragon had some holes for those who didn't read the book, but it's still a great watch. Today we'll finally be looking at Silence of the Lambs as well as its controversial sequel. Why is Silence so famous? Let's take a look. We open up with our heroine Clarice Starling, who has no relationship to Juliet Starling. Though, wouldn't it be cool if they were cousins? Juliet being a zombie slayer and Clarice being an FBI agent? Make this a fan fiction! Clarice is doing some physical training, and she's called in by Jack Crawford for a special case. Now, already we see a difference between Clarice and Will. Clarice is motivated and is willing to take on any assignment her boss gives her, even if that means consulting a cannibalistic psychiatrist. Will is a bit more jumpy, and it took him a while to actually get on his assignment, and even during his job he whines a lot. Now, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but if you applied for the job at the FBI and you're a squeamish person, why the hell did you join the FBI? Also, apparently Jack has gotten a lot of plastic surgeries because he doesn't look like the same person. Oh wait, it gets better. In the TV show, he changed his race as well. Yeah, I know movie-wise, Red Dragon came out after this movie, but I'd like to see some continuity. If we can have Hopkins for 3 films, we could have the same for reoccurring characters. Jack tells Clarice how awesome she is and how he needs her help on an assignment. He wants to do an interview of all these criminals in the local asylum. However, one of the criminals refuses to cooperate, and I'm just surprised how many people did cooperate in the first place. Either these aren't mastermind criminals or they've just given up. And if you're wondering who that criminal is in particular, it's Hannibal. Clarice is like, okay, I can do this, and she's totally badass. She goes to the asylum, and then the head doctor just hits on her. And at first I misread his name as Clinton, but it's actually Chilton. But I think Clinton would make more sense.
To the American people, I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Why, I had to make that joke. Also, shortly after the previous episode I had posted, I started reading the novel Silence of the Lambs, and in the book, Chilton is a lot worse. In fact, Jack is equally as revolting. Eventually, Chilton gives up and takes Clarice to see the other doctor. Another doctor tells Clarice where Hannibal is, and this guy is way too happy to work as a doctor for the criminally insane.
Hi, I'm Barney. He told you don't get near the glass.
Yes, he did. Clarice Starling.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you, Clarice. You can hang your coat up there if you like.
Actually, I will.
He's past the others. The last cell, you keep to the right. I put out a chair for you.
Oh, yes, that's very good. Thank you.
I'll be watching.
This is Barney. He's the best character ever. We only see him for 3 minutes out of this entire film, but I think he needs a spin-off movie. We shall call it Barney the Warrant. So then we have Clarice's first encounter with Hannibal. Hannibal's oddly compliant with Clarice, and in fact he's waiting for her before she even arrives. Another fun fact is, in the scenes that Hannibal's locked up, it was awfully difficult since the prison he was in was made of plexiglass, and Hopkins was bolted in. So while the cast and crew were out on their lunch break, Hopkins willingly sat there waiting for everyone to come back.
They would have to bolt him into this plexiglass cage, and once he got bolted in, there was no getting him out. So he kind of stayed in there most of the day. So I never got to talk to him. And a lot of our scenes, because they were direct to camera, he was actually looking at the lens of the camera. I wasn't even there. I was behind the camera somewhere saying my lines.
He was really like a prisoner. And we'd shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and he wouldn't have an escape route. He couldn't be like, oh, okay, while we reload the camera, let me just like go out and get a cup of coffee. No. He was in the cell, and I think he liked it.
Hannibal comments on Clarice's normal body lotion smells, similar to the comment he made to Will in Red Dragon. Also, you know in the previous episode how I said this film was released on Valentine's Day? It was actually unintentionally released on that day, but surprisingly it fits in with the book's continuity. It's because the story takes place a week before Valentine's Day. Clarice asks Hannibal if he could fill out the questionnaire she was asked to give him. However, Hannibal doesn't want to, and instead they talk about the main antagonist, Buffalo Bill. They call him that because of a joke the FBI made, because he likes to skin his humps. Whatever that means. So, what we know about Buffalo Bill, he's a crossdresser, not a transsexual, who skins his victims who are always female. Now, you may be wondering why I'm emphasizing that not in that previous statement, but that's because when the film came out in theaters, a bunch of the LGBT community was boycotting this film for misrepresenting the trans community. Hannibal tests Clarice by asking why does he skin them, and I love the dialogue between the two.
Darling, thrill me with your acumen.
It excites him. Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims.
I didn't.
No. No, you ate yours.
Now my feelings are hurt. I don't know why, but the way Foster says that line makes me laugh, and the reaction that Hopkins gives makes him seem hurt in some sense. While leaving, Clarice gets semen thrown in her face by this horny inmate. This causes a riot with all the other inmates. Now, fun fact, this scene gets censored in the TV version. In the book, this scene is portrayed slightly differently. The semen throwing is canon, however, the riot was not in the book. Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring up lots of fun facts about this movie because I had the special edition on DVD. Except it's in storage right now, so I can't really hold it up. But yeah, I do know a few secrets mentioned about this film that the casual viewer may not know. And not only that, I'm kind of stalling for time because I really don't want to review the sequel. She has to interview this ex-patient of Hannibal's, Miss Moffat. Insert fairy tale joke here. Clarice then has a flashback of her childhood. She is with her father as they discuss work. He works as a sheriff for the police force, probably which inspired her to join the FBI. The flashback makes Clarice break down, implying that her father is dead, possibly being killed by a criminal. Clarice then has a montage of training as well as studying more on Hannibal's case. Jack calls her later saying that the horny inmate from earlier has died by swallowing his own tongue. I'm not even sure how that's humanly possible, nor do I want to know. Clarice doesn't know who this Miss Moffat is, since all of Hannibal's ex-patient notes have been destroyed, and she looked through Baltimore's phone book and found no one. While talking to Jack, Clarice found a storage facility called Into Yourself. Apparently, no one has been in that facility for years. She investigates the place and finds several body parts as well as a dress. Miss Moffat turns out to be an anagram for one of Hannibal's ex-patients, who Hannibal claims didn't kill him, but somehow died after missing 3 appointments. Hannibal haunts Clarice some more, going as far as writing fanfiction of Clarice and Jack. If only he knows about his own fan base. Actually, in the book, he actually does have a fan base standing outside the asylum. So it could be implied that the patient was decapitated by Buffalo Bill since Hannibal knows him so well as the clues he provides. Also, he seems to be moody that all of his drawings got taken away. I always imagine Hannibal in his cell doing arts and crafts just to kill time. He also complains how he has nothing to look at and is kind of bored.
Not while I'm alive. What I want is a view. I want a window where I can see a tree, or even water. I want to be in a federal institution far away from doctored children.
Okay, now imagining Hannibal the Disney princess. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. Strolling on one of those, what do you call them? Feet? Not now, Clarice, I'm having a musical number. We cut to a victim who's coming home from the store when she sees a man in a big white van, struggling to put a couch inside the trunk.
All right, get in there. Okay. Go on. I'll give you some gold.
So where's the gold? Why are you unzipping that? Oh my god! No! No! Please! No! Stop! It hurts! Please stop! It hurts!
What's wrong, boy?
The gold coins are hurting my hands!
Well, at least you got some free money.
I certainly did!
I was just a man in a big white van.
Now, I listened to this one podcast called My Favorite Murder, and if I learned anything from that podcast, is never trust a man with a big white van, because chances are he's a serial killer. Victim goes to help killer Bill, but then Bill kidnaps her and throws her in this underground chamber. And yes, I know this character has a name and what her role is in the story, but let's face it, after this stupid decision, this should be her name. Back with Clarice, she and Jack headed to Washington to examine some dead bodies that Bill has killed. He keeps his victims alive for 3 days, though nobody knows why, and doesn't rape or abuse them. He just keeps them underground, and then just shoots them. Also, he has a thing for bigger women. And I won't judge, because I have a thing for guys with long hair, and I keep them in my secret basement.
Please, let us out.
Not happening.
Please, we're hungry.
Yeah, well, you don't know what pain is. He then mutilates the bodies once the victim is dead, I guess just to prevent them from screaming. While looking at the recently dead body, Clarice has a flashback of her father's death. The victim's body was found in a river, and Clarice notices the victim has something in her throat, to which they find a cocoon. She talks to her friends, who I'm gonna name Craig and Eric, because look at them, they're total nerds. Like, they play beetle chess for fun. Clarice asks her friends to examine the cocoon, to which they find a yellow moth. This moth can only be found in Asia, so it must have been imported from a moth farm. Afterwards, Chilton interrogates Hannibal. Chilton makes a deal. If Hannibal can help the FBI with Buffalo Bill's case, he can be a free man. But Hannibal wants to talk to the senator, since the victim is the senator's daughter. So they send him to Memphis. Hannibal says that his ex-patient was a lover of Bill's who had a number of aliases. He gives him the state where Bill resides in, though he also said that he could be lying, and Hannibal gives the senator a physical description as well. Clarice goes to visit Hannibal and needs more answers before the victim dies, since they only have 5 hours left. Instead, Clarice gets riddled, and somehow Hannibal knows every piece of Clarice's background. I'm sure it's mentioned in the book on how he got this information, but in this movie, it makes little sense. Unless Clarice's childhood is a common topic around the office, which would make sense, though I really doubt that's the truth. However, it does provide us, the audience, on who Clarice is. Clarice says she leaves the ranch that she grew up on because she heard the lambs scream. Yeah, apparently lambs scream. This is way before goat remixes. Take that, goat! Clarice tries to free them, but the lambs don't move, so she took one with her and left. However, the lamb was too heavy and only made it a few miles until the sheriff picked her up and sent her to an orphanage. As for the lamb, it was slaughtered. What does this have to do with anything? Hannibal believes that she could possibly stop having nightmares of her lamb and instead rescue one, the victim representing the lamb. Since Clarice is limited on time, she begs Hannibal to give her more answers. However, Chilton and his pals escort Clarice out. Luckily, Clarice is able to salvage the case file before she's out of the room. The psych wards give Hannibal dinner, and then Hannibal attacks the guards. He kills both of them, then escapes. And we can now do that Rammstein joke I hinted from earlier. Oh, that one didn't even make sense. Not that one, the other one. Clarice returns to see what has happened, and the FBI and Clarice go out looking for Hannibal. Hannibal is left a bleeding corpse on top of the elevator with an almost perfect mask that looks like Hannibal. Again, proving my arts and crafts theory. Do you think he also does macaroni art? He poses as one of the men attacked while using his amazing cosplay skills, and then kills Chilton while in the ambulance. We then cut to Bill, who's in his female persona, as he dances around naked, admiring himself, ignoring the woman underground. This scene probably traumatized you, so here's something funny.
How today's issues would be handled on the Brady Bunch.
Hey, Peter, Marcia, guess what? I'm black.
Also, apparently the nipple in this one shot is a fake. I didn't know they made fake nipples. Also, this dance here, it wasn't in the screenplay. It was only made to make Bill look more scary. And the whole thing is improvised.
So Ted, would you like to get all made up and dance naked in front of the mirror to a song? And he said, sure, let's try that.
Oh, and if you're expecting me to do my normal running gag of adding music to this scene, well, I'm not. Because that would be too predictable, and not only that, it would require some censoring since he's technically dancing naked. Clarice investigates victim's parents' home to get some sort of clue on what Bill wants out of this woman. After staring at this ugly dress for a while, Clarice then knows what Bill wants out of these women, and she reports back to Jack, who apparently knew about this already. Gee, Jack, you could have, I don't know, helped out a little. Clarice goes to Bill's house along with a SWAT team. Actually, the SWAT team ends up at the wrong home while Clarice is at the right place. Victim has got Bill's dog in her clutches and then threatens to kill it unless she can have a telephone. Bill finds his gun, however, Clarice gets there first. Bill gets dressed like a regular person and opening the door. Clarice asks about the previous residents of the house. He has one of their phone numbers, however, when Clarice asks to use his phone, he starts to act suspicious. Clarice pulls out her gun and we have this climactic search and rescue scene as Bill makes an escape. Clarice makes it to the underground chamber and finds Victim as she's on the hunt for Bill. Clarice knows that if she rescues Victim first, they are both easy targets, so she tells Victim to stay put while Victim acts as bitchy as possible. Clarice finds the moth from a breeding room, which is in a very dark room. Bill has the advantage since he conveniently has night vision goggles. This scene is very intense, and even if I've seen this scene so many times, my adrenaline is always racing. Clarice shoots Bill before he can make an attack on her, and Bill is dead, and Victim is taken to the hospital. And the movie ends with Clarice graduating where... Damn, that's a good-looking cake. No cake. Clarice gets a phone call from Hannibal, who I guess memorized her phone number somehow and asks if the lamb stopped screaming. Clarice doesn't answer, but just asks where he is, which he never says. Guessing from the visuals, I'm guessing South America. So that was Silence of the Lambs. What did I think about it? I can see why this movie has the reputation that it does. This movie, while linear, is also very complex since there's more symbolism and riddles in this one compared to the previous films. Every time I watch it, I pick up on new clues. Since my first time watching it, I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused. The acting is very well done as the humor is very dark and has heart-pounding suspense. Book-wise, tone is a lot different from Red Dragon, since Silence of the Lambs is more focused on dialogue, while Red Dragon focuses on the details that were not necessary. Also, the book for Silence has a humorous tone that it does horror. Like, the only cringy thing in the book is the fact that Hannibal is a cannibal, and that's about it. In fact, if you don't consider yourself a horror fan, read the book. I'm sure you'll get a few laughs out of there. If you really think about it, this film is more of a feminist flick, since it focuses on Clarice living in a world dominated by men. It's not your average horror story. In fact, this film had a huge feminist impact because when the film was released, more and more women were joining the FBI at the time. That is... until the final film. Oh, how I hate this film. Looks like you'll be suffering. I thought you were coming for me at the end of the review. Yeah, well, originally we planned that, but like I said, I like watching you complain. Tell me, where are your companions and maybe I'll let you live.
Can we do this fight scene after you review the film?
But I don't wanna.
Do it.
We open up on Barney, who's interviewing... Holy shit, what happened to this guy? No, don't do any more close-ups. This film's already hard to watch as it is. Anyway, Barney and this guy are having a conversation about Hannibal. Barney then tells Abomination on how he would comply with Clarice but not anyone else, and he's unsure why. We then cut to the FBI who are undercover on a certain case. Clarice now colored her hair blonde and is now played by Julianne Moore because Foster saw the script prior to shooting this film and thought this film was gonna be shitty. Good call. Anyway, this story isn't in Baltimore anymore. In fact, I have no idea where we are. From the looks of it, I'm gonna say one of the Caribbean countries? Anyway, Clarice and the FBI are on drug raids. Wasn't Clarice specialized in human psychology? That's why she talked to Hannibal in the previous film? Did she get demoted? Oh yeah, and this is set a decade after Silence of the Lambs. A whole decade. Oh, and it gets better, because we don't see Hannibal until a half hour into this entire film. The raid doesn't go very well since the target has a child with her, and all her accomplices are dead and she refuses to cooperate. And she has a gun. Clarice then accidentally kills her. Now, if you expect me to have a snarky remark, I'm sorry, I just can't do any comments on this, just with all the news recently of cops killing civilians. I just don't feel it's right to make jokes. With that said, here's something funny.
The honey badger is really pretty badass. They have no regard for any other animal whatsoever. Look, and it's just grunting and ew, eating snakes. Ew, what's that, a mouse? Oh, that's nasty. Oh, they're so nasty. Ooh, look, it's chasing things and eating them.
Clarice's boss isn't happy, and neither is this douchey co-worker, Paul. Clarice also feels ashamed of herself, and she's also accused of shooting 5 innocent people, which was a straight-up lie. So she is assigned to another case to talk to the creature from earlier, who's apparently the only surviving Lecter victim, and is also a child molester. He has some new information on Hannibal and wants to share it with Clarice. Clarice goes to the Thing's house and he reflects on the last encounter he had with Hannibal. Apparently, and I'm getting this from the Hannibal wiki because the movie doesn't explain it very well on what their relationship is. He was already a child molester who was sentenced to prison. However, since he is related to someone in the government, his sentence is much smaller. However, he still has to see a psychiatrist. Hannibal, who's a court-ordered psychiatrist, gives him PCP and then asks him to peel off parts of his face with a shard of a mirror. Because he's high as a kite, Muck does so, as well as attempt to hang himself and survive, and that's why he's paralyzed from the neck down and is severely disfigured. However, since the movie did a shitty job of explaining this, it seems that Hannibal has been demoted from psychiatrist to escort, so this scene seems more sexual than it should. The wiki does state, however, there are sexual elements within this interaction. However, the movie gives the audience the wrong intent, making us feel very confused on what is going on. Prior to disfigurement, Goblin actually looked kind of hot. Why is it always the pretty ones who are the most fucked up? Clarice then looks at Hannibal's portfolio just like the good old days. Clarice finds surveillance of Barney and another warrant breaking Hannibal's arm after Hannibal's attempt to attack the other warrant. Clarice then finds Barney and interrogates him. Okay, this is very oddly convenient. I understand Clarice moving out of state for this assignment, but Barney too. Sure, he was interviewed by Freak Show earlier, but it's so weird that they're in the same town. Also, I'm running out of insults at this point, so I think I'm going to resort to a random generator. Oh my god, really?
How about calling him by his actual name?
He has a name?
Yeah, what did you think? A mother just forgot to name her child?
I didn't think it was that important.
He's the main antagonist. How is he not important?
I didn't hear his name mentioned.
Mason Verger. It was said at least 3 times in this film. Jesus!
To be honest, I'd forget his name too if he were my son.
See, Luna agrees with me. Ayo!
Just review the film.
Clarice asks Barney how he managed to live in the asylum for 6 years with Hannibal, while the previous warrants only last 3 days. Barney says this.
After he escaped, he might come after you.
No. You once told me that whenever feasible, he preferred to eat the rude.
See, even Hannibal thinks Barney is awesome. I love this guy. I just want to give him a big hug. Clarice then says she thinks of Hannibal every day, and apparently has sold one of his cookbooks to a person, and she needs Barney's help to retrieve the book. Oh yeah, this plot point, never brought up again. Barney gives Clarice some more notes and tapes on Hannibal. According to Barney, Chilton used to film her conversations with Hannibal after her first encounter with him. Throughout this whole film, she listens to them as if they were music, and it's really creepy. Also, I just want to have a moment of silence for that dead pigeon. That poor bird.
He was a good bird.
I love that bird. Now he's in little birdie heaven.
He shall be missed. Wait a second, what am I saying? This isn't an important plot point at all.
We cut to the chief inspector, Ronaldo Pazzi, who also serves as a rival to Clarice. He's working with Verger out of his own personal gain so he can become wealthy. Oh yeah, did I mention that Hannibal is on the FBI most wanted list? Yeah, because that makes sense. Cannibalism takes a long time to kill and eat your victims. I understand terrorists or mass shooters or even serial rapists. Hannibal's hobby isn't as easy as blowing up a place, and not only that, he's very picky on who his victims are. And to prove my point, remember that quote that Barney said earlier?
You once told me that whenever feasible, he preferred to eat the rude.
Yeah, that's how picky he is. He doesn't kill just anyone. So, Ronaldo finds Hannibal, and really doesn't do anything, except go on the FBI's website. Buddy, I think you want to plan this through before you do anything, I don't know, stupid? Paul also does something really stupid, walk in a place where he's not wanted, ruining Clarice's focus. While studying the stuff that Barney has given Clarice, Clarice finds a love letter written by Hannibal to her, as well as a bunch of not safe for work fan art. Judging by the love letter, as well as previous elements in this film, it's obvious that Hannibal does have sexual and possible romantic emotions towards Clarice. And Clarice is like, psh, don't be stupid. Did I mention I hate this movie? Ronaldo chats with Hannibal going under the name Dr. Phil. Now, I'm imagining all the possible Dr. Phil jokes I could be making right now. Like, Hannibal develops like the southern drawl and has like some sort of bigoted statement about women.
If you have a high-profile mental health professional here advocating for your children to stop an attacker, I would think that would be a time that you just wouldn't want to interject.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You know, my dad used to tell me, never pass up a good chance to shut up.
Ronaldo's also too stupid on what he should do next after talking to Hannibal and somehow lives another day. Ronaldo has this reunion with a friend who's just got stabbed, and Virgil recalls a mutual friend asking him if the pigs are ready for killing, since that is his plan on killing Hannibal. The man says that they are ready, and the pigs kill a mannequin. And I find this scene very weird, since the budget of the gore in this film isn't at all consistent. Sometimes there's realistic gore, and sometimes there isn't. And in this scene here, there's no budget. Clarice notices that someone has been toying around with the FBI website and tracks down Ronaldo. Ronaldo, obviously guilty, tries to get out of the situation as much as he can and hangs up. Alright, I'm going to spare you 10 minutes of this film. Hannibal finally kills Ronaldo. However, before Ronaldo dies, Clarice is on the phone. Hannibal answers it, and Clarice is about to say, "I told you this man was dangerous." And Hannibal's like, "Oh, hi, Clarice." And Ronaldo gets killed and everyone can see his corpse. I'm sure this is the most entertainment they got of their entire lives. Verges on to the fact that Hannibal is infatuated with Clarice, so his plans now change. Instead of putting Hannibal in distress, he'll put Clarice in distress so he can capture Hannibal. Clarice is then put on administrative leave thanks to Paul, and now Clarice is sad. Hannibal somehow knows this and calls her, and also knows that she has a spare gun in her closet. Apparently, Hannibal's also a psychic. Clarice tells Hannibal about her experience of meeting with Verger, and eventually Hannibal rambles for a bit, and Clarice tunes him out. And I love this bit of dialogue.
What are you thinking now? Are you paying attention to me, ex-Special Agent Starling?
No, but I'm starting to see why Foster didn't want to be in this movie. It's a good thing another actor plays me in the next film. Hannibal lures Clarice to this outfit he bought for her, obviously showing his sexual interest in her, but yet again, Clarice is too dense to notice. I feel like I'm watching a very corny romance anime than I am a movie about a cannibal and his not-so-partner in crime. But, Hannibal gets kidnapped, and Clarice tries to chase after his kidnappers. Paul finds out that she still has a gun, and again acts as asshole-ish as possible. And Hannibal seems kinda used to this, like this is a regular thing he goes through. Hannibal is then put onto a pig pen, and then Clarice tries to rescue him. Verger comes in to watch them both die. Clarice gets shot and is knocked unconscious. Hannibal frees himself and tells Alfred he's now free and can kill Verger if he wants, which he does. And then this scene happens. I don't know. So Hannibal breaks into Paul's house, knocks him out, and we see Clarice just waking up. She seems to be on a really heavy sedative. How did Hannibal get it? I don't know. Clarice musters up the strength to kill Hannibal herself, however Hannibal's on to her. Paul seems drugged on something else because he seems in a good mood and is dumber than ever. And then Hannibal cuts his head open and... I don't know if I can do this. This scene is too sickening for me to edit. I know. I'll call a reviewer friend to help me out.
You have reached the number of Mr. Mendo. If this is the ChibiFangirl calling about the editing and the brain-eating scene from Hannibal, I'm, out of the country or something. I'll be back when reviewing's no longer a thing. Okay, bye.
The one time I need you and you're busy. I know, I'll call Pepe and he'll help me. Hey, I need your help.
Nah.
No, don't show me that. Cut through the animal planet, I'll continue from there. So yeah, Hannibal cuts Paul's head open and feeds him and Clarice his brain. I'm just gonna guess that he died off screen, so I'm gonna add that to Hannibal's kill count. Hannibal goes back to the kitchen, and now we can go back to the movie. It's not so gross anymore. So Clarice then tries to stab Hannibal. However, Hannibal announces his undying love for her. She handcuffs him, and we interrupt this movie to bring you 50 Shades of Cannibalism. It looks like Hannibal's gonna cut off Clarice's hand, but she breaks his arm off screen and the cops come to rescue. We don't know where she goes after this. Does she move on with her life? Does she briefly get institutionalized like Will did? But we We do know that Hannibal is getting the hell out of there since we see him on an airplane. Now, either that's an unaccompanied minor or this kid had terrible parents, but kid, never asked to try strange man's food. You're eating parts of a human and you'll probably become a serial killer later in life. Go back to playing Pokemon, don't engage with him. Also, if Hannibal is on the FBI's most wanted list, how did he get on an airplane? And then the movie just stops. We don't know what happens to Clarice. We don't know if the FBI will replace Paul or even have a funeral for him. We don't know where Hannibal is going, and we don't even know who this kid is and what kind of monster he'll become later because he asked the cannibal if he can have some of his food. So that was Hannibal. I hated it. I know this series doesn't rely heavily on the standard horror tropes, but this one's a whole lot gorier in that one scene alone compared to the previous 3 films together. The characters are so stupid and it's mostly filler and dialogue. There's no mystery, and it was just kind of made so we can see Hannibal again. I heard that the book also wasn't very good for the same reason, which is actually saying a lot. It sounds that The Lambs so good of a film is because the mystery for both Clarice and us, the audience. In this film, we already know everything about everybody and we're just waiting for something to happen. So I know I said I was going to review all 3 seasons of the TV show, but I couldn't make it past the 2nd episode of the 2nd season. Though as I was writing this script as well as I'm writing the next script, I'll try to cram more episodes in, but for my own enjoyment's sake, it's very boring. I'm ChibiFangirl, I fangirl over, and you just listen. Now if you excuse me, I have some business to take care of. Hey Luna, what's that over there?
Where?
Well, that was surprisingly easy.
Yeah, I actually wasn't expecting that to happen. Good work. So, I guess you can watch a few more episodes of Hannibal while we wait for the next episode to be published.
Do I have to?
Hey, what happened here?
I don't know, Luna was just there and she had a heart attack or something and just kind of died.
Oh my god.
What do you guys want? If it's to torment me, you're doing a horrible job. We actually need your help. My help?
Suck your blood and leave you there, all alone, just skin and bone. When you walk among the trees, listen to the leaves. The further I go, the less I know, the less I know. Where will you run? Where will you hide? Lullabies to paralyze.
Okay guys, I'm at my other location. Can you tell me what this is all about?
It's about Priscilla and Melatina.
And I should care why?
They're both reviewers, like you.
They are?
They mostly review anime.
And you're telling me this why? It's because they were trying to review my TV show. It was so bad that they tried to kill themselves and they ended up in a coma. What is a crazy cannibalistic serial killer doing here? Hey, don't worry, we have him restrained. We thought he would give you insight on what you're going to review next. What's going on? Just how bad is this show anyway?